Hello and welcome to Jameson Connects. Today's episode is Behind the Music, a conversation that dives deep into the heartbeats of music creation. Here we uncover the stories, inspirations, and people behind some of the most beloved songs, exploring the journey from a mere idea to a masterpiece that resonates across the world. Join us as we navigate through the intricacies of music making, celebrating the art and the artists who dare to dream and define our musical landscape. Stay tuned as we bring you closer to the music you love and the stories you've yet to discover. With that said, welcome, ladies. We're so happy to have you. Thank you for joining us today. Some of you have had the pleasure of working with, some of you are meeting for the first time, but obviously have heard of and deeply admired your respective journeys. So thank you so much for doing this today. A multifaceted artist in the truest sense, Sabaa is a singer, voice artist, and actor renowned for her contributions both on and off screen. With a passion that traverses the boundaries of media, Sabaa's work embodies the spirit of independent artist in India's vibrant and entertainment landscape. Preeti stands at the forefront of music and brand partnerships as the Senior Vice President at Universal Music Group, India and South Asia. Her journey reflects a deep understanding of the music industry's nuances, shaping the future of music distribution and consumption through innovative strategies. Shirin, a dedicated behind-the-scenes force, Shirin's role as a manager to Shankar Ehsaan Loy has solidified her position as an indispensable pillar within the music industry. Her expertise and experience speak volumes of her strategic and creative capabilities. And last but not the least, Mansha Tandon. As the head of marketing for YouTube India, Mansha crafts the narrative around YouTube's suite of products, influencing the digital music scene's landscape. Her rich background from PepsiCo India to Apple Music and now Google, in combination with her multicultural upbringing, contribute to her innovative approach in shaping music marketing today. So we're here today to talk about music and everybody's journeys and, what really... for me at least, I was curious to sort of do a deep dive and dissect what really happens behind the scenes. I feel we're all living in a day and age where there is no cookie cutter formula. There are no templates anymore. Everyone's trying to figure it out. But even then, each one of us here today has clearly had a sustained career being a part of the industry, right? Sabaa, someone like you, truly multidisciplinary. I feel like you go in between so many different worlds of artistic expression, be it theatre, film, music, playback singing, your own musical expression that you have with Imad. I'm curious to understand where in this chaos around us and the madness around us, how does one deep dig down and constantly fuel that creativity?
I feel like, that's like a prerequisite of being a creator, right?
Yeah.
You are creating because you're not really digging to create, it's coming out of you. It's expression.
Right.
So, the idea is to, of course, channel expression and, put it in the right direction.
Yeah.
But I don't think creating is as much over, that's the place I feel comfortable in.
Right.
The creating part and, kind of finding the voice and, whether it's music or film or whatever. That's the easy part. The part that I don't really understand or relate to, I think, is everybody else on this couch really handles that beautifully, and I'd really love to know from them, actually, because I think the bridge between creating and then putting it out into the world is like it's like an uphill task for somebody who only understands the creative.
But that's exactly what I was going to ask you next.
Yeah.
Like, when is the right time for a song to leave the studio?
Sometimes it doesn't need for 10 years. It really doesn't. Like my band, Mad Boy Mink, we've got some 30 songs that are ready. And some of them, they've been ready for like good 10 years. They've been there. But we're like looking at it, we're like, is it the right time? And then do we put it out right now? I don't know, maybe next season. So no way. Procrastination, I guess. So I think that's a creative dilemma constantly. About is this the right time? Should we put this? Maybe we should put it out next season. This is not, right time for now. And that happens with everybody. There's so many musicians and, people are sitting on scripts for years, even actors, even directors, writers.
Yeah.
it's really like the art really is to kind of share it. And I find that extremely difficult.
But I'm also sure like there's a certain amount of vulnerability, right? Especially in this day and age where I feel everybody's opinions are, one is unsolicited, but also so much on the nose, in your face. And then you've got, all sorts of parameters where you feel that there's a science to it and now there's data that's analyzing it. Do you feel that that now adds another layer where sort of questioning yourself, saying, okay, is this the right time? Is this not the right time? Do you let any of those factors ever interfere with your creative decision making?
So I'll say one thing. I mean, like, for the lack of any other word, I'm blissfully living under a rock. Where as far as, anything related to algorithms and other such, animals go, I'm quite... and it's not the brightest thing, honestly. I wish I knew.
Yeah.
But that's not what's stopping us. And I mean, like, if you think I live under a rock, my bandmate lives under a boulder. So it's like, that is the furthest thing from our mind when it comes to, releasing stuff. But, the thing is that because we exist in this world and you have to now find a way to kind of speak its language,
Yeah.
And I would say I'm not, yeah.
You're not worried or bothered
I don't get it.
Okay.
And for that, I'm impoverished. I have to say, like, when you crack it is when, then art can reach the millions.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've cracked it yet. I'm still struggling.
But I think that's where it's interesting to get probably Mansha's point of view, right? Because she is on the other end of the spectrum as platform, looking at all of this massive content being uploaded and generated every single day. It's, I work with a lot of young creators where you're constantly listening and where everybody's formula or perception is that, okay, let's increase the volume. The more I put out there, something's got to stick, or virality, for example. And we were chatting about this earlier as well, that we've, gone are the days where you had that one viral moment, right? So Preeti is someone I think has probably witnessed all sorts of formats and has experienced media through the lens of print, television, film, music, time. Whatever. And that's why, Preeti, I think your view on this is also very fascinating, right? That I know the work that you do at Universal, the ethos is to try and create, I feel, especially with your role, I see you playing the function of being creative agency, both to artists as well as the brand world, and music is that connecting bridge, right? So just hearing Sabaa and Mansha's thoughts on this, the song is made, ready to go out, you have the platform, you have multi-expressions, or as I like to call it, extensions of an artist's brand, right? Where does the label or the brand ecosystem fit in then? Is there a crucial role to play? Do you feel like, artists today need to tap into that ecosystem? Otherwise, you're just consuming or putting music out in isolation.
I think it is a lot about algorithms, but it's not just about algorithms.
Okay.
You cannot be chasing that.
I'm saying, like,
Yeah.
really,
What a sigh of
Absolutely. I mean, so I'm just going to give you some examples and I'll come back to why this algorithm is also important.
yeah.
But on a daily basis, like, there are millions and millions of songs put out on streaming platforms. Had it been all about algorithms, everything could be fixed and all songs would have been a hit number. But that doesn't happen. Last year we were coming with Coke Studio after a very long time, like after 6 years or something like that. And the whole world, the whole music industry, everything is changed. And everybody was looking for this one hit number. But, and there is this thing about that Coke Studio music is this kind of music, this kind of genre. But we wanted to kind of shock people with what could work, for a Gen Z today, or for the people who are not digital first, but digital only consumers, So from that perspective, of course, as I said, algorithm is important, but look at the journey of a song. A track or a song needs to be owned by someone beyond the artist. Of course, one artist needs to have conviction in what he or she is creating.
Yeah.
But beyond that, the song needs to be owned by someone. Like, for example, Mansha was talking about people creating reels or transitions or whatever, shorts, YouTube shorts and everything. I want to take example of the song called Khalasi, Gotelo. last year. And now this artist, Aditya Garvi, and and Achint, I mean, they were known, but they were not these big names. Like I didn't know about them. Okay, my limited understanding of music and artists. But when Gotilo happened, it became a hit not just because of the track being very lively and energetic and all that, but people from Gujarat were owning it for obvious reasons. This was something beyond Garba. It was not talking about Garba, but still people were owning it. Youngsters were owning it. Dancers were owning it. So you need to have people loving and owning your song. And that's when a song becomes, a
Cultural
hit
moment.
and a cultural moment. That Prime Minister is talking about it, that it's being played at IPL finale. I was the happiest person, to be very honest. And people making transition reels, people making dance reels, everything. I would have also made a couple of them. But I think that really matters.
Okay.
And also, artist conviction matters. I mean, Sabha was talking about it. I won't name the artist, but this happened very recently where there's this one artist, very young, very new, but immense conviction in what he's writing. That it didn't matter to him that so many people, experienced people, are telling him that, hey, we think you should not use this particular line, you should not use this particular narrative, it might not help. And he kept on saying that I am not going to change it. And this artist is not even a very, very established artist with millions and millions of followers. I think it's about conviction as well.
I love that. Actually, speaking of conviction, so Shirin, I don't think there could have been a better moment to bring you in. And I was curious to ask this of both Sabha and you, Shirin, that do you know a hit before it's a hit? And the reason I asked you this is you had close to 2 decades of experience with just SEL and then more beyond it as well. You've seen a lot of chartbusters. You've been involved in the scene that I think what I would give to have a front row seat to just experience that BTS, right, that you have. But I'm curious, in your experience as manager, as someone who's really, in my world, been one-man army when it comes to Shankar Ehsaan Loy and the terrific run that they have had. Do you really sense a hit before it's already out there into the world?
You wish it were to become a hit, yes. Unfortunately, the song is driven by the film. And if the film doesn't do well, the music goes down with it.
You think?
Yes.
Haven't we had instances where the music has still stood out?
Yes, it has. Yes, it has. But some of the time, a lot of they've written some really great songs that have unfortunately not seen the light of day purely because the movie hasn't done well. And people just don't want to give the movie a chance. And if you're not going to give the movie a chance and you're not going to see it through, then you're not going to listen to all the songs that are in the movie. And to Shankar Ehsaan Loy, they had so many hopes on that soundtrack. I mean, there's the up and the down. But then there's songs like Kajrare, which nobody ever thought would become the next big thing, or Kal Ho Na Ho, which nobody ever thought, which nobody ever thought would become the next big thing. And I mean, just see the people dance when we play live at a show is just unreal.
But Sabha, do you have a different point of view? Do you sometimes instinctively know that, look, I know this is a short winner?
I think sometimes you know that how the song is placed in a film, or sometimes you know a banger when you're recording it at the back.
Yeah.
The last track that I sang, last playback that I sang was, we knew it when we were in the studio. I did for Sachin Jigar, and we went into the studio, and when we finished recording, we were like, okay, we see this is doing well. We knew it. We knew it when we walked out. We're like, okay, I think we've done it.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it was quite. It's a cool feeling, but I don't think you can tell really, especially with cinema and playback. I don't think you can tell.
Yeah,
and like you said, it really depends on the movie, and if no one's going to watch the movie, they're not going to see the bits in the middle, and they're not going to see the song's going to disappear.
Yeah,
it's going to listen to the soundtrack, and it's going to be gone.
So, Shirin, I'm going to come back to you. Just to focus on, we've got platforms view, artist, someone from the label and the brand world as well. Management, right? It is something that I think so little generally gets talked about or explored. Unfortunately, I think it's one area of our industry that still remains largely disorganized. It's not a subject that is taught formally. Yes, now there is some modern day version of you learning it to some degree in music business schools, but still nothing close to what you'd like a good, efficient manager to know and to be aware of. Like I said earlier, for us, you've always been the one-man force behind SEL. But I don't think, listeners or viewers still understand the magnitude of what all management covers. You've worn multiple hats with SEL, right? Between legal and business and shoots and whatnot. Give me a little peek into what has a standard day with the three boys look like, and what all do you cover on any given point at any given point of time?
The day can be either very easy or they can make you cry. You can choose. But I mean, it's all about being organized because there are three of them with three very different dynamic personalities, different schedules. Then there's the director. Then you have to incorporate his schedule into our schedule.
Yeah.
And then you have to make everyone be very happy when they're working together.
I love it.
On Zindagi, he walked out. They had a creative fight, and he walked out and he's like, I'm leaving SEL. And Zoya was like, okay, you can leave SEL after you finish my movie, but let us finish my movie first. But I mean, you have to just be like, I've learned now, you have to just try and be very organized and try and stay on top of things, especially when you're working with people. Three different mindsets. Each person thinks differently. Yeah. You have to keep up with them. You have to think ahead of them. So in my previous job, I used to work with Ranjit Barod, and I learned a lot from him. A lot about preempting situations, which I never thought I had to even think about. And that has helped me keep up with Shankar, Essa and Lloyd, because they think so quickly, they move so fast.
Right.
Everything that it's not just one we were working on at the time. It's like 5 or 6 different films, and you have to know everything about every single project, creatively, financially, legally, singers, musicians. I mean, everything, every day. You just have to be on top of it, or you're going to get very lost.
Lessons learned the hard way.
Very, very hard.
But Sabha, I'm going to ask you something. And we were talking about songs, and sometimes you know that it's going to be a sure shot. Sometimes there's a lot of heartache that goes into the making of the song. Like she said, disagreements, tempers flying, or, just the creative conviction that you want to put your foot and say, no, I just absolutely feel a certain way about this. Is there a particular moment or a story that went into the making of a song that you're really proud of, that's already out there, or maybe just not out there, but, something that you can share with us that tells us either the creative heartache or the success of what went behind the making of a particular song?
I think sometimes, I think the fun part about being a musician is that sometimes you could take a month to write one song.
Yeah.
And sometimes you write a song in half an hour. So I find that, and it just flies, you're like, okay, we're done. This is finished. And then you're procrastinating another song for 10 years, like I said before we started. So I think there were many instances where we've spent long hours trying to hack lyrics and, kind of get it right. And it just doesn't happen. And then next day we wake up and we do one song and literally oh, we're finished. We're done. This is it. And it's done in half an hour. There's a song and we end our gigs with Madball.
Yeah.
And it's called Sharabi. And now that song's been around for a while. Okay.
Right.
That song got written a bit like this. It was like, oh, done. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, was it just you and Ahmad even then?
It was always just me and Ahmad with Madball. Yeah. And he's an excellent producer, and it's not always easy because we're two very opinionated people, so we're always butting heads. But I think that's the fun of it, and I think it's always for the best, and it comes out. I think it helps in a way.
But speaking of unexpected collaborations, right? Yes. Although you and Ahmad have worked together for a long, long time, and it's just moments like these, right? You said, when you feel like, okay, it's done. It's really come together. Mm-hmm. I feel, between Preeti and Mansha also, I'm sure you experience that a lot of times. interacting with brands? And Preeti, I want to come to you first, because a lot of brands sometimes just think that they have an idea and that they have a sense of who they think they should collaborate with. And you and I know now from experience that there's a lot of hand-holding that goes into it. Tell us a little bit more. Has there been, again, a collaboration in your track record that has stood out to you the most? I know you've created a lot of successful IPs. Coke Studio obviously is a huge feather in your cap, but give us some favorites that have stood out to you over a period of time, and what is that beauty in making sure that there's always that right fit, that right match, and it just clicks?
So I was telling Mansha also the same thing, that brands, they know that music is important and they should do something with music. But a lot of times they don't exactly know what and what should be the journey, what kind of artist, what kind of sound and all those things, what will work in their favor. Sometimes they have some idea, sometimes they don't.
Right.
That's where probably our work starts, that what is your music point of view? Like, if you are, for example, both, and if you're both, that means you're young, you're bold. And I remember there was this one launch called T Rebel. Now the name is Rebel, and thankfully, we got the right artist for that. Who better than Raja Kumari, coming on board and all those things. But there have been very unexpected collaborations as well. And this was in 2021, and this is about Netflix, and they were coming out with this film called Red Notice, and they were looking, and India was being looked at as a big market for the launch, and they were looking for this something in India for the Indian fans. And we were having a conversation, and we said, and I said, I think fans would like to see Divine and Badshah come together. And I just made a statement. I had no idea that it's not so easy, but I think I was lucky. But I made that statement and I said, yeah, we'll make it happen. But to get Mikey in between, to get Badshah and to get Vivian, come together and even talk about this whole collaboration was like a Herculean task, But all is well that ends well. I've also seen collaborations where the artist goes incommunicado and the artist feels that this is not what I want to do at the last moment, and or multiple reasons. I mean, or there are reasons, or the artist feels that this is not the kind of music that I want to do.
Sabha is struggling, nodding. I just started nodding furiously. I have to get Sabha's point of view.
It sounds really familiar.
I've seen like, I'm going to go hide behind under my rock again.
It happens sometimes, people want to, I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it as it is. Like, sometimes there's a gap between expectation and reality. And I think, you can't ask a new disco artist to make you Hindi film music, Sometimes,
Absolutely.
and then so you have to kind of manage expectations a little bit, and of course you have to go into things with your eyes open. When you're doing, and also because as an artist, we have only these, as an independent artist, we have only these many opportunities really. So you want to bank in on everything. You 100%. You want to be a part of
the commerce of being an artist.
But the commerce of being an independent artist in India, where the scene is honestly, this is pea-sized. It's really tiny. We're not talking Bollywood. We're talking about, thank God I have a tiny playback career to bank on. But I'm just saying that outside that, I'm an indie musician. So, and that's really so small. So you take every opportunity you can get, and then it's like, yeah, but so that happens. Of course, that happens, and it's a learning curve for everybody, I'm sure.
But not everybody disappears.
Not every day.
Yeah, I have
play good cop or bad cop in those situations. Artist.
Mostly I'm the good cop. You have to, but sometimes you have to say things as they are. And I do deal with that. Sometimes you have to tell the person that, hey, listen, this needs to be released. You need to have this percentage of conviction. You might feel that this is not 100%. You might not feel like putting it out, but this is not your independent project. This is collaboration. And it's not just about brand. I'm speaking independently also that, when you are making something, there are so many people involved. You cannot procrastinate forever. You have to put it out in some format, So you have to bring this commercial aspect as well, that there is a deadline.
Correct.
That you have to deliver.
Right.
Because someone else's whole campaign, whole summer or sale or everything is dependent on it,
Yeah.
But to be very honest, the bad examples have been few. I have worked with amazing people, amazing artists who have ensured that they deliver at the right time and they make it happen. So it's not that people are very unprofessional like that. There have been just a couple of examples here and there, and we have dealt with that. But pretty much they also believe that their fans would be waiting for it, more than anything else.
Yeah.
They cannot upset their fans.
Yeah, shouldn't. I'll throw bad cough. She is. She's laughing and being nice today. Tell us, okay, ask your question. I'm going to ask mine.
Just to understand, when you said the artist goes into hiding, or doesn't want to put out their song, and they've been given a creative brief, I'm understanding.
My job here is done.
And they've been briefed and they've agreed to be part of the collaboration. So after that, how can you bail?
Priyanka and I have been through one small situation.
Oh yeah.
Years back.
Oh yeah.
But but see,
That takes a lot of convincing to bring that artist back on board, and that is, I
it
can
does.
only imagine what that is.
See, brief is fine, but I think sometimes because I think the artist develops cold feet and
Is the song, sorry to interrupt, is the song so different that they feel their fans will not connect to it?
sometimes that it might evoke a very different emotion that they do not wish to, or it could be controversial, or it's not sitting in their meter in the sense the kind of music that they put out. So I think that could be one reason why this happens sometimes, but
I think
we balance it out.
Yeah, I was going to say, to sum it up, I feel sometimes it is a factor of where they're at, what's happening creatively or professionally in their respective careers, versus from you're trying to sort of make sure that the final product or the deliverable always meets the brief. But it is but natural that sometimes there is a gap. There is a certain difference in expectation versus reality. But I think the role of a good agency, or in that sense, anyone who's facilitating it, is always going to be to try and find that delicate balance.
Also connect all correct dots.
Yeah, and
Connect the right artist with the right.
This is
and then, then there's a good.
This is not line production. This is art. And if your brief is X, and if this is your brief, this is art, and the artist brings his or her own conviction, own way of. That's the reason you choose a certain artist.
Yeah.
That's the reason you need the right archetype.
Yeah.
It has to match, right?
Absolutely.
So that you and the brand and the artist are thinking the same direction.
Yes.
If I am looking for an artist who should be expressive, and I get an artist who's like very shy and is into classical music, it just won't fit.
Yeah.
So I think there cannot be this exact brief and exact delivery. This is not jingle. This is artistic expression of a certain brief.
Yes. No, very well said. Mansha, have you, I'm going to ask you very quick. I'm sure there is a favorite track, or there's a, by and large, by public opinion, a favorite track, and you've probably been a part of the story behind the scenes that's gone into the reason why it's crossed a certain insane amount of streams or had a viral moment. I'm curious, tell us if there is one really inspiring moment in your career, in all of the different roles that you've done, or at Google, at YouTube, that stand out.
Yeah, I have a couple, but I just wanted to say that I really love what Preeti and Sabha said about, I think they were talking about there needing to be a strategic fit, right, between the brand and the artist, but then also kind of a tactical and operational fit, right? If you're an outgoing brand and you want to be expressive and the artists themselves isn't that. And so I just wanted to say a huge +1 to what both of you were saying about the right fit, whereas I think many brands, they look at influence and they look at subscribers and then they go, we want that one, right? Like, we want that one. And I think it's so much more complicated than that. Well, incredible how it permeates industries. This thing that you spoke about, things and decisions are being taken based on numbers, as opposed to actual talent or ability. That's right. But I guess numbers in itself are reflective for this generation, perhaps, of talent and ability.
Numbers are part of the story,
Of course,
but then I think,
of course they are.
as far as possible, does the artist reflect your brand score?
But it's that same thing when you start casting people in shows based on the number of followers they have, as opposed to whether they actually fit act or look the part, or are they actors at all to begin with.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's the same thing, So I think connecting the right dots is everything.
I love that.
Yeah.
And viewers and users can smell that inauthenticity from a mile away.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Right? Like, I'm not going to name and shame, but, a certain brand getting a certain very well-known actor from overseas to be in their ad. Now I'm just going generic, but I think you have to have some connection between what you stand for and what the actor stands for. So thanks for sharing. And look, I'll share 2 examples of what I think were the ultimate collabs. At Apple Music, we very early on in the early days when it was still scaling in India, we went to Riya Kapoor's house before We Lady Wedding. And, we sat down and we listened to just unmixed raw versions of everything. And I heard Tarifa and we were like, that is a banger, right? Let's collaborate on that. And then she, wanted certain things and we were able to, there were gives and gets involved, of course. Right. But the collaboration that we had right from, the aesthetic language that we wanted for the song and the shoot and right then to how we promoted it, I think was one of the most constructive collaborations across production, studio, label, and platform. And then I think closer to home in the last couple of years, I mean, Badshah's Jugnu Challenge, which we did with our best friends at Universal. Obviously, we listened to so many tracks.
Yeah.
And then we heard Jugnu and we sat down in a room with him and we said, collaborate with us, co-create with us. What's the step? What's the hook? How should we do this together? And I think and this is getting a bit meta now, but there was a collaboration between us and the artist, but then his willingness to collab with creators, right? I love me a creator into artist collab, right? And the smartest artists and the smartest creators are realizing that to expand and compound their influence, they got to collab with each other, right? Because that's when they start to cross-pollinate fandoms, right? So you have, all right, Badshah has a few million subscribers on YouTube, but then there's a gamer with 40 million. And how do you then, expand into different spheres of influence? He gets that, right? And so when the song came out, sure, there was a hook step, but then was he also shouting out to and collaborating with a makeup influencer? Absolutely. Was he letting the song take on a life of its own by being remixed by some South Indian musicians? Yes, right? And so I think there's a collaboration between the platform and the artist, and then there's this collaboration between artists and creators, which is, I feel, a bit underrated and can, really, really expand an artist's influence.
Well, Mancha, just for, at least for someone that's looking at it very peripherally, I'm so fascinated with how the platform or the DSP has such an integral role to play today in the success of a song and making sure the virality, the connection with the right audiences happens. Give us a little bit of a sneak peek into what is that stage, because you mentioned just going back to Veere Di Wedding, right? The fact that it was a conversation almost on day 0 with the producer and a DSP. Few years ago, it would have been unheard of, right? At what level is the platform coming in, and why do you think that lends such a different edge to the success of a particular song?
Yeah, I think it depends on the platform. Right, where they want to come in. I think there are several intervention points.
Right.
So, for example, at Apple Music, we, and I can't speak for them now, but back then, we really wanted to be in the room in the early stages with artists. And I know that, to my knowledge, they do that today. Okay. Right? Like, they'll have artists, in their offices. They're hearing about them and their slate and their upcoming releases. And I think they tend to get involved fairly early.
Okay.
Right? I can tell you, from a YouTube perspective, our role has always been to give someone a voice, right? Show them the world. It's one of those mission statements that, you hear a mission statement for a company and your kind of eyes glaze over, but it's this simple, very human mission statement, and I actually resonate with that day after day. Our job is to give them a platform, show them the world, and take them and their song to the world. Right? That is where we like to play a role. I don't know if you all remember this little known Haryanvi singer called Renuka Pawar. Actually, she's from UP. Of course, you know, but yeah, she's from UP, but she sang a
Gaj Ka Dam.
That's right. They sang a Haryanvi called Bawan Gaj Ka Dam.
Yeah.
1.6 billion views on Absolutely. Who would have thought? And, you know, we played a role after the song became absolutely massive. We played a role in how we worked with her, how we've told her story.
Yeah.
Right? I've partnered with her from a YouTube marketing perspective to actually document her life, to be a witness to her life. Right? So there's different times at which platforms come in. In summary, sometimes they'll come in early. Sometimes they'll come in as we did with Badsha.
Say that sometimes now I see platforms actually preempting the kind of artist, the kind of sound, the journeys that they want to capture.
Yeah.
Whether it's our work with YouTube or with Spotify for that matter, or Wink. I mean, we recently launched Badsha's album, and this was with Spotify. But we've also worked with YouTube Shorts when they launched for Jugnu.
Yeah.
I think now it's no more about what happens after a track is released. It's all about the journey. I mean, I still remember that there was one song by Badsha, and the song was released, and there was this hook step someone from Nepal actually created. So we got him to India, and he was a part of the video as well. So I think it's about the journey, and it's not about chalo release ke baad dekhte hain kya karna hai. That's not how the maths work anymore.
And so are you finding that platforms are coming in at different interventions?
Absolutely. So, but do you feel like you have to rely heavily on platforms? And I'm asking you this because I feel you're one of
Worst person to ask this question.
you don't rely.
Haven't the foggiest. Really?
You don't put out as many music videos either. I know we
No, so music videos to pocho hi mat.
What is it intentional?
We have just finished directing. I just finished directing our first music video. We've been around 10 years. We've been around for more than 10 years, this band.
So this is like
finally made a music
there's
video.
no website, and I'm like, but we just didn't get around to doing it. Ab nahi hai to nahi.
No, can you imagine two people who claim to be filmmakers in a band together not being able to make a music video? But we finally did it. I directed it. It happened, and it's
about to come out
in a month.
Sure.
So yeah, it's done finally.
And is that because you've always felt that were you live first as a format? And
Yeah, 100%.
experiential, is that
100%. I think we're also like kind of old school in the sense that we were like, music's to be heard, but we live in a very different world now.
Yeah.
We have to catch up. If we don't catch up, we're going to get left behind, which is, I believe that's going to happen if you don't catch up. So yeah, it was a bit of a, okay, wake up. And it's time to make a video now.
Basically, you were saying so. There are two ways in which people fall in love with a certain kind of a track, music. One is when they watch the video and they like the video a lot, and then they start liking the music as well. So sometimes the video drives the track and likability for it. And sometimes we like the song first, and then we start looking for the video of the song. Do you think that's also because we're such a film-driven entertainment?
that is the reason why in India, we are very audio-visual in our consumption. We want to see that, we want to watch the video also,
Right.
and that adds to the likability.
It doesn't have. I was going to ask from both your perspectives and going to the numbers and the science.
I want to give this example. I don't know how it's going to be taken, but in 2021, we were just coming out of, we were getting into the phase two, the Delta, the second wave. But just before that, things were looking normal. And there was this gaming brand called Garena, and they really wanted to capture the imagination of people through pop culture and music and videos and everything. Imagine that there is a song and they come to us and they say that we want to create a song like War, Jai Jai Shiv Shankar, that's the kind of beat and the stuff that we want, So we asked them why. So they said that because we have Hrithik signed to us as our ambassador, So I remember I called Vishal Dadlani, and I said that, hey, listen, this is the kind of music that we want. Now, people, the hardcore fans of gaming knew Garina, but how do you bring it to pop culture and make more people watch it? And that one standalone video did so well because people wanted to watch a heartthrob in Bollywood, and they also liked the beats and everything. So the video worked for more. And the reason why I'm giving this example is that the visual
We want to see the
helped the track do well and achieve the objective
But I'm
of
also
the campaign.
fascinated by the process that the brand approaches the label, as opposed to, I would have assumed that the brand approaches the talent or the composer first, saying, listen, I want a track.
As I said that we were chatting, before this, and so when a brand thinks of anything in content space or in music, they have to go to 5 entities to get one thing done. And here, we are playing we are doing this whole 9 yarn. So you don't have to worry. You tell us your problem. We will diagnose the problem.
Right.
We will tell you what could be the cure, and we will also give you the prescription for it, and we'll see to it that you achieve what you really want to achieve.
So they're coming to an ecosystem, basically.
Absolutely. So because the song also needs to be released, the song also needs to be marketed like a song, not like a jingle and not like a cola bottle. So that's also
I appreciate.
Hey, what do you got against cola bottles?
not against brand man
Or Pepsi Sweet.
for.
No, I'm kidding. I'm just joking.
You see, cola also drives a lot of stuff in my case. So invariably,
Sharon, I have to ask you, do you have any sort of yardstick that you go by to decide, is this collaboration, is this brand sort of worth the association, not worth the association? Because, I love Sabha's view on this, and, she has a very clear sense of where that middle ground lies. But with you, you're not looking at one, you're looking at 3. Right, and 3 different point of views, and yours as a business manager who has to decide that, is this right, wrong? Is there any sort of parameters that you take into consideration?
Not at all.
You've been very opinionated on, what works, what doesn't work, how they should be doing things.
But that is something I leave to them, because I don't get into that space. For creative, if they are comfortable associated with that brand, by all means, let's make the association work, and let's.
Right.
I mean, even if it's not going to work, let's just try and figure out a way to make it work where everyone goes home happy. The brand should be happy with whatever we have done and delivered.
Yeah.
And that is the true testament to them having done a good job. The brand should be happy with the song and the deliverable. For me, it's basically.
But even in terms of the performance, do you feel even with... No, but I was going to...
And they should have fun making the song.
Right.
And it shouldn't just be that, we're doing it just because someone is paying us a ton of money and then we're doing it. Only if the brand is really not a very healthy brand to be associated with, then, let's find a way just to drop the association.
Okay.
But it's entirely there.
Shireen, wherever, look at it like this, that wherever a brand thinks of trust and established name and trust,
Then it...
Vishwas, then they think of Shankar Ehsaan Loy. Then they would also think of Salim Suleiman.
So we don't
it's not that the other people cannot be trusted, but look at it, the brand is the life cycle where the product life cycle where the brand is. They've reached a point where they want to talk about trust. So they know that Sure Shot people know about it. People will trust this person. This is a fair person, fair personality, nothing to hide. All those things are fine. So I have noticed that whenever it's about this, they trust people like Shankar Ehsaan Loy or Salim Suleiman, Vishal Dadlani. It's going to work out in this fashion.
Sabha, I know what your answer is going to be, but I still have to ask. Lots of talk about, stability and what sort of personalities equate to what qualities as far as a brand is concerned. As an artist, do you feel that it's so easy to get labeled and so quick? And then does someone else have to go out there and bat on your behalf? Because, there could be so many projects, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sabha, sometimes when it's out there in the world, you sort of tend to look at it and go like, oh, that's right up my wheelhouse. I would have loved to do something like that. But the perception sometimes to the brand world is not translating, or just to the outside world, right? And I think it happens with the manner in which gigs are booked or the manner in which deals are offered or casting happens. Have you ever struggled with a lot of labeling? I'm not even going to say stereotype. I feel just labeling of boxes that we're so quick to tag everyone in.
I think people are, the reason why someone boxes somebody is out of, it makes the person, you can understand the human, right?
Yeah.
So it's for the comfort of the self that you box somebody else, right?
Yeah.
So if you get to the bottom of that, then, then you're like, it's a human condition.
Yeah.
We all do it. And inadvertently, we're all doing it and we don't even know we're doing it. We're stereotyping constantly. And that's just what it is like, and why should any industry be any different?
Right.
So whether it's cinema or music, it happens all the time. I think then it's the responsibility of the artist to then present themselves in a way where they're like, hey man, I can do this, this and that. So which brings us to the business of music as opposed to, just the creative aspect of it.
Yeah.
And then I think this is something, you're not taught in school, and I wish you were taught in school that matlab jangar mein mor nacha kisne dekha. You know what I mean? So if you're going to be making music in your own bedroom and saying, what a great song, and then you don't put it out, then the world is never going to know.
Yeah.
So the idea, I think then the onus actually does lie on the creator. And of course the manager can push what the creator puts in front of the manager and says, hey, I made this, what can you do with it?
Yeah.
But it has to come from the creator.
That's so.
I think I think we have to assume responsibility for it.
Right.
So,
No, that's very, very well said. Preeti is a very interesting story. And correct me if I'm wrong, didn't you take a sabbatical at some point and went to the US to get a degree?
I was going through this turmoil in my mind. This was around 2015, 2016, and I was I was constantly questioning myself. What am I doing?
Yeah.
Am I even creating value for anyone, or I'm just doing a job? And when I turn 40, what is it that I'm going to give to myself? Am I looking at making money, or am I looking at transitioning? And I spoke about this graph and plateau.
Yeah.
I have gone through that myself, and I was like 15 years into work. What am I going to do? And I decided that I need to just stop here and add skills.
Okay.
The only way you can play this block and tackle is by actually stopping, adding more skills and upskilling yourself and prepare yourself for another world. Because the skills that you learned when you did MBA or whatever, 20 years back, 15 years back, those skills have brought you till here.
Right.
But from here on, you need to learn more. Because if I'm going to be this person who's like so rigid that no, this is the only way. No, I don't like AI. No, I don't like digital. No, I'm not going to deal with this. You're not going to grow. Go home. So if you want to grow, you have to give something back to yourself. So I decided to take a sabbatical. You asked a little bit earlier about, I think, the pro tip. And
Yes, that's what I'm come to next.
yes, I anticipated.
Go to it.
I've been thinking about this ever since you asked the question, and I've been reflecting on it, and I wish I were as accomplished as Preeti, having taken that sabbatical. But we're on a music podcast, and I'm going to throw it back actually to music.
Okay.
Bear with me. I'll, rewind you back to the 90s. I was a brown Indian kid growing up in the suburbs, and not the rich suburbs of Sydney. And someone gave me a mixtape or a CD, I forget which. And that's all I had at the time. I had music, right? It's the only thing that I derived any sort of inspiration from. And I put this CD/mixtape in. I can't remember which one it is, okay. But I had a Walkman and I put it in. And the song that came blasting through was Rebel Girl by Bikini Kill, okay? And like, I just, I fancied myself as a bit of a rebel girl because here I am. I'm this brown kid amongst a sea of white faces.
Yeah.
I spoke like this and they spoke like this. And there was nothing in common. There was no common ground. And I felt like suddenly Kate Hannah was like just coming to me through these speakers, and I was possessed. And I was like, and it's a song about sisterhood at its very core, right? And it's a song about revolution. And I forget exactly the words, but when she talks, it's a revolution. I hear a revolution. When she walks, it's a revolution. And I just think that rebellious nature.
Yeah.
But, you don't have to be a contrarian person constantly. But what you do have to be as a woman is a rebel.
Yeah.
Right? Because there is enough going against the grain. There's enough going against you in the structure that is the world today. And so, long-winded pro tip is to not be afraid to be a rebel girl, because when you are afraid, you're not going to make change.
Yeah.
Right? And if you don't speak out, you're not gonna make change. And so that for me, I don't know. I know it seems kind of funny because now I'm like this corporate MBA suit, right? And but I promise you, somewhere deep inside is just this complete riot girl punk rock aesthetic, which I can't.
We believe
can't
we
lose.
see it coming.
Yeah, maybe I don't know, but it's there, and I think that is my pro tip. No matter who you are, whether you're an artist, a female artist in a male-dominated industry, whether you're a woman in the corporate world, whether you're, on the agency side, wherever you are, don't put up with shit and be the rebel girl. So that's what I was reflecting on when you said pro tip. And
I love that.
my story.
Yeah, you got to shake shit up and leave your mark. That's it, right? Sava, do you have...
People coming to my TED Talk.
Fantastic. Loved it. I don't know if I can give a pro tip, but I'll say one thing. I think, and I can only speak for myself as an artist, is that authenticity is everything. There's only one of you. Try fiercely to be yourself, because there's a sea of homogenized, output every day. It's the same thing. People dressing the same way, talking the same way, same actions, assuming voices. Find your authentic voice, whether that's as a singer, as a creator, as whatever. Just find what you think is the most honest part of yourself as a creator, and put that out. And if you do that, if you really get to the bottom of that, chances are that you will stand out, because a lot of people are trying to be somebody else. I want to be like this artist. I want to be like, No, I really, really want to be like myself,
Yeah.
I really want to know what that is. And just discovering that is such an uphill task. What is really me, as a creator?
Yeah.
What is my voice? Is it really authentic? Is it like influenced by the thousands of records I've listened to? Or is it actually something coming out of me? And I think that, for me, is the most incredible search as an artist.
It's the journey.
Yeah, I mean, if you find authenticity, I think you've arrived. You've reached home, and then own that authenticity, and people will laugh at you. And I promise you, I've been on the receiving end of that. I've been on the receiving end of that. People will laugh at you, but you gotta lump it and keep going. Because there'll be a point where everybody else will look exactly the same, and you'll still be the one standing out. So just be authentic.
I love that.
That's it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. And I think on that lovely, incredible note, such beautiful takeaways from today's chat. Certainly for me, ask for what you truly want. Till you don't ask, you won't get. Keep working hard. So beautifully said. Be your authentic self, and don't be afraid to be a rebel. Go against the grain. That really sums it up for us here. Thank you so much, each one of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, and thank you all.
It's a pleasure.
Ladies, great to meet you.
Yeah.